The Petrov defense is one of the most boring and annoying defenses that you can face as white. And it gets even worse when they try to use the Stafford Gambit because it's so hard to defend against. If you hate playing against that, then this video is perfect for you because I'm going to teach you the best gambit to absolutely pulverize the Petrov's defense. Let's get right into it. So it starts with e4, e5, obviously, and then when we get into the Petrov, in this position, you're going to play bishop c4 and sacrifice the pawn. There are a lot of reasons for this, but the main one is that we're just going to get all of our pieces developed, and we're just going to castle. Now, a quick note is that they can play knight c6 and transpose it back into the Italian. I'm not really sure why they would do that, but if you don't already play the Italian, you need to make sure that you have a way to play against this. So, the only way that they can decline it, other than knight c6, is with bishop c5. But this move does not work at all because you can just take. It's just a free pawn. They might try to play knight c6, and then when you take, it is very similar to the Stafford Gambit, which we're trying to avoid. And they might want you to take this pawn with the knight, which is a perfectly fine option, but it is very similar to the Traxler counter gambit. And if you're not familiar or you just don't want to play against that, then a much better option is to just take with the bishop. They have to move the king, obviously, and now you play d4 because you just need to make sure you get all of your development, because that's the thing in the Traxler type positions. Black will get a lot of development and attack your king. And also, we're going to make sure they can never sacrifice this bishop here. So, not obviously. So, they'll probably take with the knight, and then you just play bishop e3, and you have a really sound position. You are up a pawn, their king cannot castle, and the position is really great. And there's not really much else to talk about there. They do have one other thing they can do in this position, and that is castle. That's just the best move. After this, now you'll just play d4 and take over the entire center. You have a much better lead in development. And now you will even sacrifice your knight. Like this, you can do this. Normally, this is bad, but in this position, their king is just too exposed after e5, kicking it away. Now queen e7 pins, castles gets out of the pin, the knight drops back, and now c4, and you just have the entire center. You're going to develop with knight c3, bishop g5, or bishop g4, depending on what you do. You can even push f4 if you're feeling really risky. That's not necessarily the best move, but you can play f4 in some lines, play f5, get the queen on the f file, do all kinds of nasty stuff to your opponent, and this position is +2, even though you did what's supposed to be a bad exchange. So you will be great. You'll be winning a lot of positions in these bishop c5 lines. Instead, the move that they will probably play, and the best move, is to just accept the gambit with knight takes e4. You can just simply take back this pawn, and the position is kind of boring, but instead, you can go for the full gambit where you play knight to c3. And this gambit is very similar to the Stafford Gambit. First, in a number of ways, but the first way is that they have to take. They don't really have another option. That's just the best move. There is one other thing that they can try, which is knight c6, and if you take this pawn, you get forked right here. And the engine says it's not that bad, but this takes away a lot of the fun for the gambit. So the move that I'm recommending is to just castle. And you just castle, you get out, and now they are forced to take. As every other move, you can just play rook e1 now. And the lines in this will be a lot similar to the other lines that we'll cover later in the video. So that's why they have to take this knight. And after they take, you take back with the c pawn, you take back with the d pawn. And this is literally just the Stafford Gambit, but you have a bishop out, so you have extra development. The Stafford Gambit looks like this for black. But if we look at the position for white, it looks like this, which is the exact same thing, but you have a bishop, and now you can get even more pressure on this f7 square. So the best move, which I'll cover in a little bit, is f6. Almost nobody plays this, and I actually got a game against a 1400 where he played h6. I'm very mad about this because I lost. For some reason, I didn't take the free pawn, which this is almost +4 for white, and I didn't take the free pawn. I instead castled, and I lost due to a blunder in the endgame. But I should have 1,000,000% won this game. This is completely winning for white. I'm not sure how I lost this. One of the most common moves for black in this position is knight to c6. It's not the most, but it's still very common. And it loses to a tactic that we'll see throughout the entire gambit, which is knight to g5. Double attacking f7. And because black has not moved this d pawn, they have a really hard time defending this pawn. So the best move in this position is like d6 or something. If they try queen f6, trying to just get out their pieces while they still can, you just take this pawn. Their king cannot castle. If they go to d8, then you have a really nice tactic, knight to e7. And now they have to go to e7. And now you can play bishop to g5 and win their queen. So that's why right here they have to move their king to e7. And their king is so exposed that you just move the bishop out the way. And this position is crushing. It's +2 for white. Their king is on e7. They're never getting any development. And they are going to have a hard time defending against your attack. So that's why right here, the best move is probably d5. In this case, you have to take with the bishop, and now bishop to e6. You take it with the knight. They take it. They have doubled isolated pawns, which isn't really that good in an opening attack, but in this position, you're going to see how it gets a lot worse for black. So you can play queen h5 here, and after king d7, queen f7, and black is just losing this pawn. They're just losing the pawn. But if you really want to just completely ruin black's day, you can take this pawn with check, and then you can trade queens to get down into an endgame. Now, the engine doesn't like this. Obviously, this is not the best way to win. But if you really like endgames, they have 3 isolated pawn islands, and 2 of them are doubled. This position is losing in all endgames, and they're going to have a very hard time defending this. I know, obviously, this is not what you hope for in a gambit, but it's still just really cool to get this. You don't see this very often, where your opponent plays like a complete moron, and they have all these pawns like that. But still an option if you want to play that. Another move that they have is d6, but it still loses to knight to g5. It is slightly better because now they can play bishop e6, and after this you just take here, and queen f7 hits the checkmate on f7 and this rook, so you're going to win a rook, and that's why they can't play d6. The best option for black that is not f6 is bishop to e7. You won't see this move a lot, but when you do, you have to know what to do against it. You have to take this pawn. They will castle. Queen f3, and they have to defend with queen e8. So now you just castle. And this is the most normal position that you're going to get out of this gambit. It is equal. White has a normal advantage for the opening, which is just 0.39. Not really anything. Black will have a hard time defending against your attack, which you're going to get. So they have to play d6. They'll have to play d6 to kick out your knight. Now knight to d3. This is a very just a normal position. There's not there's really nothing to talk about. You just have to be better than your opponent in this position. Of course, the only move that defends g5 and this pawn is pawn to f6, which is really boring, and a trap that you cannot fall for is taking this pawn, because if they go here, queen h5 check usually works and it wins the rook, but they can play queen e7 and pin you. So that is really unfortunate if you stopped watching the video. So instead, the best way to prepare that is by castling, but there is one line that I want to show you, and it is knight to h4. This move looks really weird, but the point of this is you're clearing the way for the queen to prey on these light squares. So for example, if they just play knight c6, then they lose completely to queen h5, knight takes g6, and then you take the pawn. You don't even take the rook, you take the pawn. Because after this, queen f7, queen d6, and bishop to g5, sacrificing the bishop, and this is a brilliant move if you were wondering. They cannot take because that's not mate. This is mate. Castle's check is mate in a couple moves. Queen d5, and then this is checkmate. So they can't accept it. And there isn't really much for your opponent to do. The engine says that they have to sacrifice a knight here or here to escape checkmate, because there really is nothing else that they can do. Like if they play bishop e7, queen d5 is checkmate. So they have to sacrifice the knight to get an escape square. So this position is completely winning. So that's why right here, their best move and their only move is g6. Of course, they have d5, but that just hangs a pawn, so they're not going to play that. g6 is their only move. And now you have to continue with f4. This line of the gambit is kind of weird, and it has a lot of theory for some reason. So queen to e7 is the best move, and then you will play, and then you have some options. The best move is just f5, getting ready to put a lot of pressure on this pawn. The knight h4 lines really only work in blitz and rapid, or higher if you're playing in a tournament. You can't really play this. They're not going to fall for this. The position is -1 because you're down a pawn. And it is just a lot harder to generate counterplay, especially because black will try to castle queenside in these lines. And your attack is not... it's going to be a lot harder to generate attack on the queen side. That's why the best move is just to castle and be really sound. And now they have a bunch of options to choose from. So a move that they can try here is d6. But after rook e1, you're putting pressure on them. This is a hard position for black to equalize. There isn't a clear win. You have compensation for the pawn, and there isn't a clear way to maintain that material advantage, as now they are kind of forced to play to castle queenside, but it's going to take them at least 1, 2, 3 moves to do that. And by that time, the engine just recommends a4 and b4, taking all the space over here, because they are never castling kingside. Another way they can go wrong is if they don't defend this pawn, because the tech that we were setting up by castling is this queen h5, knight takes e5 stuff. So if they defend it with knight c6, probably the best move. You play b4, getting ready to kick this knight away. And they have to play d6, and this is similar to the lines that we just talked about. They're going to take a long time to castle. Meanwhile, you're going to start pushing all of your pawns to the queen side because they have to castle to the queen side. That is all the traps in this reverse Stafford Gambit. Hope that you guys enjoyed the video, and I'm really sorry that this video took so long to make. I know in my short I said the video was coming out soon, and that was quite a while ago, but it's finally here, and I hope you guys really enjoyed. I'll see you next time.